In theaters now. This is another one where I say, well, at least I saw it in the theater. I don't know how wide a release this is. This is a Netflix movie. And on occasion, Netflix will release a film into theaters very, very briefly before it hits Netflix. So by the time you're seeing this, this is probably a Netflix-only thing. Don't Look Up. This is a film starring Jennifer Lawrence as a young doctoral student, doctoral thesis candidate, whatever you want to call it, who's working with Leonardo DiCaprio at one of those giant telescopes, giant radio tower things where they look out into space and see what's going on. She discovers a meteor, a comet, as it were, that's hurtling toward Earth. She brings her boss, her mentor, her co-doctor, co-genius, DiCaprio in on this to check her math, and 100% chance this is going to crash into Earth. So this film, which is a very dark comedy, very relevant to our times in many ways, basically plays out the scenario of what would happen if these two people needed to tell the world, we're all going to die. How does the media handle that? How does the government handle that? And how does the citizenry handle that? Now, this is pretty clearly a riff or a spoof or a satire on the issues of climate change and COVID and many other things that are, facing threats that face humanity and how people choose to deal with them or not. And the sadly comedic aspect of this film is that nobody wants to deal with this. Nobody wants to hear bad news. The media wants to just whatever, I don't want to hear about that. And the government is just like, we don't want to panic people. Maybe it won't happen. And you see these two people at its core, Lawrence and DiCaprio, who are just losing their minds trying to get people to listen to them. And I mean, but of course it begs the logical extension. If there's nothing you can do about it, what are people going to do? So it's, again, saw this in the theater, sort of an all-star cast, a lot of recognizable faces in this. Meryl Streep plays the president. You got Jonah Hill, you got Cate Blanchette, you've got Tyler Perry, you've got Mark Rylance, who's kind of brilliant in this. Rylance plays this Steve Jobs kind of guy, or Jeff Bezos kind of guy, some super rich guy who's the head of something like an Apple, who is called in as an expert and sort of skews the story in a different way. I will say, if you watch this and you like it, stay through into the credits, because there is a mid or post-credits gag that's pretty funny and pays off some stuff that is set up earlier in the film. I really like this. I see the truth in a lot of it, and also I see just the sad reality of a lot of aspects of what's said. So it's this weird bittersweet thing. Like, it's really sad and moving at times, and part of it is, how the world is, and part of it is just on a very, very human level. What do you do with the time you have left when you see your time is up? And that doesn't have to necessarily pertain to a pandemic or a global catastrophe. It can relate in very, very tiny personal terms. Say you find out you have a terminal illness, that sort of thing, and how that feeds into this. What do people do? What do these characters do? How do they choose to spend their final moments? So it is one of those films that is sort of like this up and down roller coaster ride of, hey, this is really funny. Hey, this is kind of scary. Hey, there's hope. Hey, it's hopeless. Hey, maybe. It's really, really interesting and funny. Again, I think this is probably a film that is not going to be in theaters by the time you see me say this. It'll be a Netflix thing that'll be there forevermore. I don't know if Netflix does home video releases. I think they don't. I think they just keep stuff on Netflix. So I would recommend Don't Look Up. I think, depending on which way the pendulum swings on your political ideology and world outlook, you may or may not find it funny, but I did when I saw it, and I thought it was pretty good. So available now. Well, sure. Let's say for whenever you wind up watching this, available now on Netflix. Don't Look Up.